Chairman, Commissioner, I want you and I to do something that those of us who serve in government probably ought to do with a little more regularity, which is put ourselves in the shoes of the people that we purport to work for. I want you to imagine waking up and you learn that agents of an agency that you already fear, one of the most feared agencies in all of government, with a lot of control and power, either real or perceived, over your life. Some agents of that agency are targeting people based on their political ideology. And those are folks in positions of leadership. I don't know if you've read Lois Lerner's emails or not, but there is a palpable animus, a hostility towards conservatives that comes through in her work emails. These are work emails. This is not her musing about an op-ed in the Washington Post. These are work emails demonstrating a tremendous enmity towards conservatives. And some of those groups wanted to do nothing more than just educate their fellow citizens about the Constitution. And so I'm sure you can appreciate the irony of Lois Lerner punishing people who want to educate their fellow citizens about the Constitution, and then she comes and hides behind it to avoid answering questions about her conduct. That's why people are upset. And then you add to that the President of the United States, the person who campaigned as the great uniter, that the same rule should apply to everyone, really didn't mean it after all. And he prejudges an investigation while the investigation is pending. So against this backdrop, Congress, I'm sure you will agree, has not only the right, but frankly an obligation to provide oversight over an agency where that is the prima facie evidence at bar. We have an obligation to do it. But the efficacy of our investigations depends upon the fullness of the information we're provided and the honesty of the witnesses that come before us. We are of no use if we have incomplete information or those that we seek information from are not truthful. So there's a piece of your testimony that has troubled me, and I want us to go through it. And this is what you said. Since the start of this investigation, every email has been preserved. Nothing has been lost. Nothing has been destroyed. So I want us to go through it. What did you mean by since the start of this investigation?
I meant since the response, as you note, the appropriate congressional response to the IG report in May of 2013 when the 6 investigations started. The investigations there, as I said, were 4 congressional, the IG and DOJ.
All right, so you and I are in agreement. You meant from the very inception of the investigation.
Correct.
And then your next, this is under oath. I think you'll agree it's material, it's important. We're not asking you about something unrelated to the investigation. It's under oath. The next thing you say is every email has been preserved. What did you mean by every email?
I meant by every email that the IRS had that I knew of had been preserved. That's what I thought. That was my honest belief.
Well, then why didn't you say that?
Pardon?
Why didn't you say that?
Well, if I knew then what I know now, I would have testified differently. But at the time, I testified honestly on what I knew and what I had been told.
Well, then
and
that gets us...
Nobody regrets more than I do that in some ways this case has been the case that keeps on giving with new information coming out. I wish the information had all been out to begin with.
Well, Commissioner, it is always an option to say, I don't know. Loretta Lynch has made a living answering questions with, I don't know. It is always an option to say, based on what I was told. But you were incredibly definitive. You said, every email has been preserved. And then for those of us who may not have been paying attention, you said nothing has been lost. What did you mean by nothing?
What I meant at that time was I had been advised nothing. But you're exactly right. In retrospect, I would have been better advised to say to the best of my knowledge or on the basis of what I've been told, which was in fact the basis of my testimony.
Well, I'm out of time, but this is what I would like you to do, because this is an important matter. I was one of the folks who wanted this hearing. I think this is really important. And you should be able to provide us information, but Congress should have all of that information.
Exactly.
So what I would like for you to do for me is you use the word mistake. That is the lowest level of scienter. There's mistake, there's reckless disregard for the truth, there's a deliberate indifference, and then there's intent. I'd be curious what you think the proper punishment is for each level of that scienter. And the other thing I need you to do is, to the extent you relied upon other people's counsel or what they told you, I need to know who they were. This committee, and I would think you would want us to interview every single witness that has access to information that would be relevant.
I think you have interviewed all of them already.
So you cannot think of a single person that this committee should interview that we have not already interviewed.
As to my knowledge, at this time, you have interviewed the first 50, I don't know the names of all the 50, but the people who advised me throughout this case, you have interviewed.
Would you do me the courtesy of making sure with your lawyer that the record is complete? Because whenever the record is complete, that's when we have to make the decision. And I am giving you the opportunity, under the heading of due process, to make sure that every bit of information you think should be considered is in fact in the hands of this committee.
Well, I would just note, and without going into detail about it, there's a lot of information and misinformation and misinterpretation of it that's in the hands of the committee. And if there were going to be a full hearing, I would have the opportunity to explore that. We would be able to cross-examine witnesses. We would be able to actually provide you not just the allegations being made, but the facts on both sides. Each side would have the opportunity, but the impact of the facts. You should hear from the Inspector General directly. Who did he talk to? Is he still, as he said in his letter, confident that it was an honest mistake by two employees, it was not purposeful? You should
That's
hear,
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Give me a witness list, because
I
you can't cross-examine them until we have examined them. So
that's correct. I'd be happy to provide you the witnesses and the information that this committee would need to be able to actually proceed accordingly. But as noted, that would be if the committee decided it wanted to go to a full-scale impeachment process, which I understand this is not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.